They laughed at her combat skills. Then she uploaded their defeat. The Galactic Combat Academy's training arena fell silent as Captain Sarah Chen stepped into the crystalline combat ring. Around her, representatives from 12 different species observed from elevated platforms, their various forms of laughter creating a cacophony that would have been musical if it weren't so condescending. "The human thinks she can compete," chittered Vextar, his forearms gesticulating wildly. The Catherian's exoskeleton gleamed under the arena lights as he flexed his razor-sharp claws. "Their species has been in space for less than 2 centuries. We've been perfecting combat for millennia." Commander Zephyr, a towering Altarian with skin like liquid mercury, rippled with amusement. "I've studied their military history. Crude projectile weapons, chemical explosives, nuclear bombs. They lack finesse entirely." Sarah adjusted her seemingly basic tactical suit, ignoring the jeers. The other competitors wore advanced power armor, energy shields, and weaponry that hummed with alien technology. Her gear looked primitive by comparison. A simple combat suit with basic armor plating and what appeared to be outdated human weapons. "The rules are simple," announced Arbitrator Kellum, a being of pure energy contained within a floating crystal matrix. "Combat will be conducted in virtual reality with full sensory feedback. Defeat means temporary neural disruption, unpleasant, but not permanent. The last warrior standing claims victory for their species in the Academy rankings." As the participants donned their neural interfaces, Sarah caught fragments of their continued mockery. "Humans rely on pack hunting," scoffed a Drakmarian warrior, his scales shifting from blue to contemptuous yellow. "Alone they're nothing. I heard they still experience fear," added a synthetic nexus unit, its optical sensors glowing with algorithmic superiority. How quaint. The virtual arena materialized around them, a complex urban environment with multiple levels, hiding spots, and tactical advantages. Sarah found herself spawned in what appeared to be a human city, complete with familiar architecture and gravity. The irony wasn't lost on her. Immediately, the other 11 combatants began their assault. Vextar scuttled along walls with inhuman agility, his claws leaving sparks on metal surfaces. Zephyr phased through solid matter, becoming a deadly mercury shadow. The Drakmarian soared overhead on energy wings while the Nexus unit calculated optimal firing solutions with mechanical precision. Sarah did something unexpected. She ran. The laughter intensified among the observers. "Typical human cowardice," someone commented. "They always flee when faced with superior force." But Sarah wasn't fleeing randomly. She was mapping. As she moved through the urban maze, her seemingly primitive helmet was recording every detail, analyzing sight lines, calculating distances, and identifying structural weaknesses that her alien opponents, despite their advanced technology, had overlooked. The Catherian found her first, dropping from above with a triumphant screech. His claws extended toward her head in what should have been a killing blow. Sarah twisted, grabbed a piece of loose concrete, and hurled it with precise timing. Not at Vex's tar, but at a structural support beam. The resulting cascade of debris caught him mid-leap, and her sidearm finished the job with 3 calculated shots. "Lucky," muttered someone in the observation deck. The Altarian came next, phasing through walls in a pattern he believed was unpredictable. But Sarah had been watching. She'd noticed his phase ability required microsecond intervals of solid form to change direction. When Zephyr materialized for his attack, she was already moving, using the environment itself as a weapon. A well-placed explosive charge brought down a section of building, the debris passing harmlessly through his incorporeal form, but cutting off his retreat when he was forced to solidify. 2 down. The remaining 9 attacked in coordinated waves, their training evident in their tactical formations. Sarah continued her seemingly chaotic retreat, but each movement served multiple purposes. She was separating them, using their overconfidence against them, and most importantly, she was learning. The Drakmarian's energy wings generated a specific heat signature that she could track, even when he thought he was hidden. The Nexus unit's computational abilities were impressive, but followed logical patterns that, once identified, became predictable. Each species had evolved or been designed for specific combat scenarios, making them incredibly effective in those situations but potentially vulnerable outside their specializations. Sarah began her counterattack. She turned the urban environment into a three-dimensional chessboard, using her knowledge of human architecture and engineering to create traps, ambushes, and escape routes that her opponents couldn't anticipate. Her primitive weapons proved remarkably effective when wielded by someone who understood their true capabilities. The Drakmarian fell to what appeared to be impossible ricochet shots. Sarah had calculated the angles using reflective surfaces. The Nexus unit's perfect targeting algorithms couldn't compensate for projectiles that curved mid-flight, courtesy of Sarah's understanding of ballistic physics and environmental factors. One by one, the superior warriors fell. When the simulation ended with Sarah as the sole survivor, the arena fell silent once again. But this wasn't the mocking silence from before. This was the stunned quiet of beings reassessing their assumptions. "How?" demanded Vextar, his consciousness restored, and his voice lacking its earlier arrogance. Sarah removed her neural interface and looked up at the observation deck. "You studied our military history, but you only saw the weapons. You missed the most important part, our adaptability. Every environment, every enemy, every impossible situation, we find a way. Not because we're the strongest or the fastest or the most technologically advanced." She gestured to the replay screens now displaying her victory from multiple angles. "We win because we never stop learning, never stop adapting, and never stop finding ways to turn our weaknesses into strengths. You fought like you always fight. I fought like I'd never fought before." Commander Zephyr's liquid form solidified into what might have been respect. "And the recording devices in your equipment?" Sarah smiled, tapping her helmet's small camera array. "Oh, these. I'm uploading the footage to Earth's military networks. Every human soldier, strategist, and combat instructor will study this within hours. By tomorrow, 10,000 human fighters will know exactly how to counter each of your species' combat techniques." The observation deck erupted in various alien expressions of dismay and newfound respect. "That," said Arbitrator Kelm, "is why humanity has earned their place at this academy. Not because they're the most advanced, but because they're the most dangerous thing in the galaxy, a species that never stops getting better." As Sarah left the arena, she could hear the other species frantically contacting their homeworlds, warning them that their combat doctrines had been compromised. She chuckled softly. They were already thinking defensively. Humans, meanwhile, would be thinking of improvements.